her guitar player is this guy named Evan Taubenfeld, who was the guitar player in the video for Complicated and like on tour with her. He was her right-hand man. Like he was like super musically like, you know, just gifted and knew like every band and was like an absorbed little, you know, Baltimore kid that worked at the Genius Bar at the Apple Store in his spare time, but was playing arenas every night, you know, with Avril on tour. He was a big fan of my work. So between them and Simple Plan, they were saying, you should work with this guy, Butch Walker, when you do your next record. She was very unhappy with the Matrix situation, right? So I get called to go to New York by her manager at Network. And I'm called to go up to do demos. They got 3 song ideas for the new record. And incomplete songs. So, but I'm also told you can't write on these songs, so don't even try. I think they were like dealing with some big fallout with the Matrix situation that was controversial at the time. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just a nobody here, you know, like I that's cool. I'll do this. I'm just doing it because it seems like a fun thing to do. I'm like, I came from rock and metal records and punk records and shit like that, making people's records for $200 a day in my dad's garage. Like I didn't really know this pop world.
Right.
But I knew pop songs, grew up on them. So we do 3 demos with me and her and Evan. And they turn out great. Label loves them. But I don't hear anything for 10 months as that process goes. She's, you know, writing with every big writer and producer in LA. They have 100 songs for the next record to pick from. And she calls me out of the blue and says, hey, remember those 3 songs we did? The label likes those best and wants to put out this first one as the single, Don't Tell Me, that we did. So she was like, you mind if we get together and maybe try to write a couple more? And I was like, or write a couple. Because I was not allowed to write on those. She said, would you mind writing and producing with me on a couple more? So I flew to LA and on a hotel napkin, so cliche, but it's true. I had this song idea that it was a piano ballad that I had for myself, where it was very dark and lower key, and it was like, let's talk this over. It's not like we're dead. Was it something I did? Was it something you said? And I played that for her, and she loved it, and I took it up a key, and then we wrote a new chorus for it, and that became the second single called So Much for My Happy Ending, and it went straight to #1 on pop radio. Changed, again, my life. Again, from that day forward, it was like everyone's calling. All of a sudden, I'm the pop guy.
Right.
Right? With tattoos that came from doing, you know, pop, punk, and metal records.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. This is actually Rick Beato 2. I've had it since the beginning of my main channel, and many of you are not subscribed. As a matter of fact, 87% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on this channel and on my main channel. This will help me get even more of my dream guests and help continue to grow both channels. Thank you.
And then I did a single for Simple Plan, and then I did some stuff for like, I did some Bowling for Soup stuff that went on to be big songs and hits for them. And I can't forget it, one of the first things I did was a local band out of Atlanta called Injected.
Oh, remember those guys? Yeah.
I loved. And
what was that? Danny was a singer?
Danny Grady.
That's right.
I met him when he was playing bass in the Tender Idols.
That's right.
Right?
With Danny and Ian. And
then Dave Cobb would eventually come in. And Danny was a kid. He was a kid. But I remember I was like, who's this, you know, young, good-looking, bright-eyed kid who's like, looks like he wants to like take over the world. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing Injected play at the Dark Horse here in Atlanta and was like, God, this is fierce. This could be really great. And we worked our ass off on making a record, and we got it shopped and signed to Island Records, and you know, they had a top 20 hit out of it. But it's one of the best records. I still to this day talk about that record. A lot of interviews don't mention it when I talk about it because they only go for clickbait and they go for like the bigger names that would eventually follow. But that band and Jade Lemons, rest in peace, who was the
Yeah, that's
guitar
right.
player.
Remember Jade?
He and I were buddies.
Yeah.
And Grady, we were buddies. So we just it was just a fun, organic way
This
of
was
making
the stuff that was going on in Atlanta.
That's right.
back
It was
then,
the
and
scene,
that was
and
the
we
scene.
were and you did it. Be damned. You know, success be damned. Record deal be damned. You didn't care. We didn't have a
right.
record deal for them yet.
Yeah.
But they were fucking good.
Yeah.
And that band, that record is great. But anyway, I'm all over the place. But really, that's what happened with making records. For all of a sudden, I'm making records for pop punk. I make a metal record for my friends in the band Seven Dust.
Yeah.
I did their demos that got them their record deal in my dad's garage on ADAT when they were called Crawl Space. And before they changed it to Seven Dust, they got signed to TVT and they wanted me to make the record. They were actually wanted to use those demos and make it the record, but their manager, JJ French, said, "Oh, I'm going to produce the record."
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so anyway, sure, Twisted Sister guitar player, go for it. And he did, and you know, they had their success well deserved because they were, to me, and are purveyors of what would be called nu metal.
That's right. They were amazing.
Every band
Amazing
that
band.
went on to be big says that's their band.
Seven Dust, incredible band.
And I knew those guys since they were in a glam band. Here we go again.
Right.
Everybody came from glam rock.
Sure.
They were in a glam band called Stiff Kitty. Sorry, Morgan. And that was their band when we were Bite the Bullet and South Gang, and on the or not on the Sunset Strip, but here in Atlanta during that scene in the early '90s, and before they went heavy and reinvented themselves. But man, I made a record with them called Seasons, and if I'm partial, but I think it's a phenomenal album, and their fans love it and think it's one of their best. And Morgan and I just had a conversation about that a couple of months ago.
Cool.